Sasha of Riften. Song of Sasha. This is the final battle. As the hours fade away to the call of the horn, I wait. A tapestry unfurls before me depicting the events of my life. Scraps of fabric invade my soul and bring me back to the place I have pushed far away. I was an orphan in Riften. Many dances of the gods before now. In the time of the Empire's last death wails. I was born to Nords, farmers, or fishermen, the memory escapes me. Food had become scarce, or money tight. Some reason had made my parents leave me there. Other children cried, I stayed quiet. A dark elf woman cooked for us, she gave me sweet rolls secretly. I loved her. She was old. She died. The next woman was not kind. The next woman was cruel. There was a boy, a Breton boy, older than I. He kept me safe. His name was Eric. When the gods had danced around my birthplace 14 rounds, we escaped the orphanage. I was afraid. Eric would find us coin, and I would find us shelter. We ate fish from the sea, and slept in each other's arms. I didn't question Eric about how he found our gold, the comforts they afforded made me happy. I adored Eric, he was my world. The gods decided to take my world away. Eric had been earning a pay doing odd jobs, but taking care of himself and a woman had high costs. Riften has always had thieves, the dense alleyways and water canals were difficult to traverse even for us, with a quick hand you could make your bread. Eric must have wanted to get me something, he was so sweet and caring. He must have picked the wrong pocket. We were found in our most recent home, in the woods we would swim to from town from time to time. A large man confronted us and put his hands on Eric. He huffed about Blackbriar and called my Eric a thief. He smelled of mead. He hit my Eric and hit and didn't stop. Eric kicked his foot out to me and I understood. He was still hitting him when I ran through the trees. He didn't stop. The sounds faded away as I ran. And I ran. I wanted to go. I wanted to run away. I wanted to disappear. I needed to not be seen. I took the skills my beloved had instilled in me. I sat frost-nipped in mills, and traded stolen trinkets with the innkeepers. I ran all day at times. I kept going south. I needed to get out of Skyrim, and away from this pain. I arrived in Hammerfell no longer the child from the orphanage. I honed my skills, and I trusted no one. I became lean and fast, I became tough. Life on the run kept me ready. I covered my hair and face, I never spoke unless it could prevent knives from being pulled. I grew, I learned. I had lovers among the Red Guards. The political forces of the great powers came down from the surrounding lands. It was no longer safe to be a Nord with no story in a foreign land. I heard whispers of war in Skyrim. I felt the urge to return yet I couldn't understand. The pull of Akatosh dragged me back into that land. I walked forward for a long time. I had said goodbye to all those I had allowed to know me. I was even more alone then. My daggers never escaped my fingers' graze as I walked the path to Skyrim in the moonlight. I didn't have a horse then, the world was dangerous. The damn Imperials found my night shelter, and they ambushed me. They were enraged, the death of their king of Skyrim had led to the persecution of Nords by the roving Imperial gangs. I fought, but I was overwhelmed. One among the men raped me. They bound me and covered my body in rags. After some time of riding bruised and defeated, I felt the darkness overcome me. I felt the whisper of a familiar voice, calling me to let go. I woke up. A blond man noticed and began to speak to me. He explained how we had all been taken on a wagon to Helgen, and pointed out his Jarl. Ulfric Stormcloak sat next to me, and my blood boiled. If he hadn't killed the king, the Empire thugs wouldn't have. I thought. I thought about how if I had the chance I would rip out his throat. When the Imperials put my neck on that block, I said prayers to no gods. I was determined to escape. And the dragon flew down. The anger in my heart had called him. He vocalized the screams kept within. I went searching for Ulfric, and I found him in a tower. They unbound me and I heard him speak. The fire in my blood called to a chill. He had the countenance of an emperor. He was much more powerful than I. I restrained myself. He looked at me and said, "We need to treat the wound on that woman's face." I felt my face, it stung, and crusted blood was left on my fingers. I trembled, the man had cut my face. When he raped me, I had forgotten, the stress of my situation had been masking the pain. I remembered how this Jarl had been looking at me on the cart. Could his gaze that spurned my wrath have been filled with concern? Had he been considering me as a sister? "We can look for something to wash it and wrap it with while we get out of here," the blonde one said. Ulfric had us pushed through onto the roof and the rest is a blur to me. I was separated and was left with an Imperial. I stayed with him long enough to run away. I ran out of the cave and into the forest. I didn't know where to go, but I needed to escape the Empire. I ended up in the little hamlet of Riverwood. I slept in a barrel. From there I had decided to journey to Riften by any means. I needed gold, so I agreed to be a courier to Whiterun. I was to tell the Jarl about the dragon in Helgen and request aid. I had treated my own wound and it had closed. I requested a stipend and bought more appropriate clothes, and a steel dagger. The tapestry phrase and my recollection of events wanes. The events that transpired are insignificant, however, until I was at the court of the Jarl. I kept my responses short, and was told to speak with the court wizard. The Nord wizard was insufferable, his attempts at sophisticated speech and his mere name. Ferenga Secret Fire wanted me to go into a crypt and retrieve some stone. I told him I would, as the payment would cover my journey a long way. In my journeys in Hammerfell I had never killed a man. I killed none in my escape from Helgen. Then I was ambushed by thieves at the base of the mount. My soul burned, and my body began to act. I would not be hurt again by others. I gained my first blood against the whole gang. I fought not with skill nor experience, but with power and hate. I descended down the hell of that first crypt. First among many. Though I sought to find the light, I was always in the dark. The undead king had scared me then, but the fire in my blood pushed me on. I slew the foe. Words on a wall flew to me in a flash of fire, and my entire body burned, my throat seized and my mouth formed the word. Foos. I was alive for the first time. I returned to the court, I returned the stone. Then I slew a dragon. In front of the forces of the Jarl I absorbed the dragon's soul. And with a single word I sent his bones flying. "You are dragonborn," they proclaimed. That word, dragonborn. May Azura curse that name. It has left me old and tired with no house or thane. Alduin's foe, and puppet of Akatosh. Akatosh be damned. I stayed on the path set out for me until Lydia died. The futility of her being as a house girl caused a deep emptiness to form in me. Why should anyone be forced to die in service of me because of who I am? I left the front steps of the Greybeard Monastery towards Riften. In Riften I was quickly sought by the resident gang, the Thieves' Guild. In the past they had been a type of organization by the poor against the cruelty of the hold. To stop the lynching of thieves. Now they were more involved in general crime. I allowed them to introduce me into their ranks for the sole purpose of destroying the Blackbriar family. However, Nocturnal guided my way and uncovered a plot in the shadows. I took break of my plan and chased the ghost. A dark elf woman named Kalia was sent by Nocturnal to be my aide. Together we retrieved her key from its thief. Nocturnal blessed me for listening to her whispers and gave me what I had needed. She allowed me to not be seen. At first I had desires to help the Stormcloaks. I made the journey to Windhelm, feeling my Nordic blood pull me towards the call of battle. The blades had strung me along long enough and taken me far into the dark of the earth, searching for a way to defeat Alduin. Alduin seemed far away and the state of my homeland more present on my mind. It wasn't until I saw the treatment of the Dark Elves in Whiterun. I couldn't swallow this foul drink no matter how much Nordic pride sweetened it. I saw abuse of these people and remembered the abuse against me of the Imperials. I was determined to get away. No audience with the cult leader of the Stormcloaks would assure me I was doing good there. I went to Markarth. I believed the stone walls would shield me away from the worries of the world, but I only became tangled into another web. I allowed myself to be thrown into the mines, and became a slave in a mine. I gained the trust of my fellow slaves and we organized a revolt. Yet we were once again tied down to the command of a man. A forsworn man who promised to restore forsworn power in the land. We broke through our captors and escaped to freedom through a tunnel. I wandered for a time, not looking to face my destiny with Alduin, nor become involved in any war. I had learned many words and absorbed many souls before leaving the Blades. I knew the dragon loomed over me. A group of mercenaries calling themselves the Dawn Guard found me and brought me to the eastern end of the province. They promised me enough to establish myself in another province if I would accompany them on one single mission into a crypt. I was willing to dive into the darkness one more time to finally find the light. The fabric tears a new sorrow into my heart. I remember Serana. I found her left to time, and kept her safe. I felt like I imagined Eric must have felt accompanying her. It may have been her vampiric charm, but I felt responsible for her. I wouldn't leave her with these men of unknown character. I sided with her and took her out of the crypt. We headed back to the castle of her father. I let her father turn me. I became a vampire, opening up an ability within me to transform into a fearsome being. I continued to be devoted to staying by Serana's side, and desiring to protect her. It then became revealed that they were involved in plans to blacken the sun. A relic known as Auriel's bow, and an Elder Scroll. Serana utilized her arcane knowledge to open a portal to the Soul Cairn. To find her mother. We found her mother and the dragon Durnavir descended on us. I beat him in short time with my new powers, and Nocturnal's blessings. I made him swear to come to my call for him. Serana's mother explained how Harkon intended to sacrifice Serana. We escaped the Soul Cairn, and I battled Harkon. I killed him and took Auriel's bow. I freed Serana of her destiny. She wouldn't leave me though. She clung to me. She always behaved aloof and uninterested, but she never allowed me to get very far from her, and she always fussed about my condition. We traveled as a pair, pretending to be sisters. We dressed both in dark clothes and never stayed in a place for long. We sought out a Strid of the Dark Brotherhood to give us a new home. She allowed us only to ensure some part of her own scheme against them. I killed many for the Brotherhood, until the enemy burned them down from within. The Night Mother's call is what saved me and my Serana. It was then the horse joined us. I rode Shadowmere out into the unknown and restored the Brotherhood. I had Serana take her to a safe place and I returned to the enemy I knew I must face. I slayed Alduin in Sovngarde. I feasted with the ancestors. Then I returned to Serana and made her my wife. We traveled back out into Hammerfell. We assembled the vampires of Hammerfell into our own house. House Dovahkiin. We ruled the shadows of the desert. Often I retreated to the seaside with Serana. I found a young Khajiit who had escaped slavery and raised her as my own. Her name was Rabir. I taught her all I know. In time I began to grow weak, the right side of my body began to decay. The gifts from the Daedra became poisons. Then the new song was started. This is the final verse for Sasha of Riften. Battle of the 10 Champions. Of olden days, when the land of Tamriel was beset by evil, the skies darkened as Molag Bal, the Daedric prince of domination, Nocturnal, the Lady of Shadows, and Sheogorath, the Mad God, convened in the Oblivion realm. Their pettiness and envy fueled their desire to put on a display of their power for the mortals below. Molag Bal seethed with anger, his voice booming like thunder. Brothers and sisters, I grow weary of Alduin's attempts to win favor with Mephila. He has bested me in the past, but not again. I shall prove my worth to her and show that I am the true lord of domination. Nocturnal, the enigmatic mistress of darkness, chimed in with a voice like a whisper, I merely wish to collect what is owed to me, a debt that has been left unpaid for far too long. The darkness always prevails, and my influence must not be underestimated. Sheogorath, the ever-unpredictable mad god, spoke with a mad cackle, oh, how boring and predictable my siblings have become. I merely wish to play with my little toys, to watch them squirm and suffer for my amusement. Madness is the spice of life, after all. Meanwhile, Sasha, the dragonborn and chosen of Akatosh, was unaware of the Daedric prince's plotting. Her heart was heavy with the weight of her past sins and the ever-looming shadow of mortality. She had traversed every corner of Tamriel, facing countless foes and saving many lives. Her soul was weary, and she longed for a release from the endless cycle of violence. Sasha was a striking figure, her armor black as night with intricate silver and gold detailing. Her piercing eyes glowed with a malevolent light, a reflection of the power that coursed through her veins. She rode atop the undead dragon, Durnavir, whose skeletal wings cast a long shadow across the land. Shadowmere trailed behind as black, thick smoke, an ominous harbinger of the destruction to come. As Sasha approached the army of the undead, 10 legendary figures stepped forward, their eyes glazed over as they were controlled by the Daedric princes. The first was Tiber Septim, the founder of the Septim dynasty, who spoke with a proud voice, I may be a pawn in this game, but I shall not be defeated so easily. I shall show you the true meaning of strength. The second was the Nerevarin, the reincarnation of the Dunmer hero Indral Nerevar, who spoke with a wise voice, the Daedric princes are fickle masters, and their will is not to be trusted. Let us end this foolishness and restore peace to Tamriel. The third was the Underking, Zirinarctus, who spoke with a bitter voice, I have been used as a pawn for far too long. It is time for me to take back what is rightfully mine and show these mortals what true power looks like. The fourth was Jagar Tharn, the imperial battle mage who had once impersonated Emperor Uriel Septim VII, who spoke with a sly voice, oh, what a delightful game we play. I shall relish the opportunity to test my skills against such a formidable opponent. The fifth was Manimarco, the king of worms and leader of the necromancers, who spoke with a cold voice, I serve my master, Molag Bal, and he shall reward me greatly for your defeat. The sixth was Mirak, the first dragonborn, who spoke with a bitter voice, I was once like you, consumed by the power of the dragons. But now, I serve Hermias Mora, and he shall grant me the ultimate power. The seventh was Umaril the Unfeathered, an Ayleid sorcerer and champion of the Daedric prince Meridia, who spoke with a fierce voice, I serve my lady Meridia, and she shall smite you down with the power of the Daedra. The eighth was Lord Harkon, the leader of the Volkihar clan of vampires and follower of Molag Bal, who spoke with a sinister voice, I shall make you my thrall and feast upon your blood for all eternity. The ninth was Dargothior, the mad sorcerer and leader of the sixth house, who spoke with a fanatical voice, I am the Hortator, the Sharmat, the Dreamer, the God. I shall ascend to godhood and rule over all. And finally, the 10th was Vertha, the last of the snow elves and follower of Auriel, who spoke with a mournful voice. I was once a servant of the gods, but now I have been corrupted by the power of the Elder Scrolls. I seek to end my suffering, and I shall do so by ending yours. As the 10 legendary figures stepped forward, Sasha took a deep breath, her mind focused on the task ahead. She knew that the fate of Tamriel rested on her shoulders, and she was determined to not let her people down. She unsheathed her sword. Quarrel of the Daedric Princes. Molag Bal, what are we going to do now? We lost to that mortal, and my lover Mephala was not even here to witness my defeat. Shiagarath, ha! Speak for yourself, brother. I, for one, thought it was a splendid show. Watching you squirm like a worm on a hook was delightful. Nocturnal, silence, both of you. Our defeat is a matter of concern for all of us. We cannot let this mortal continue to thwart our plans. Mephala, oh, stop your bickering, my dear siblings. You're making my ears bleed. Molag, my love, you never learn. All that posturing and showing off, and in the end, you couldn't even defeat a mere mortal. Pathetic. Molag Bal, but Mephala, I did it for you. I wanted to impress you. Mephala, impress me? Ha! You could never impress me, my sweet. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have more important matters to attend to. You three can continue your squabbling without me. With that, Mephala fades away, leaving the 3 princes to their arguments once again. Joy of Sasha. As the effects of the Elder Scroll wash over the battlefield, the dust settles, I look upon the wreckage of the battlefield, victorious. I awaken in her realm, I find myself surrounded by the familiar comforts of my home. Serana, my queen, is there with me, holding my hand and watching over me with a worried expression. You're awake, she says softly, relief evident in her voice. You've been asleep for days. I was worried I had lost you. Serana notices the change in your expression and asks, what happened out there? Are you okay? I take a moment to collect my thoughts before recounting the events of the battle to Serana. She listens intently, offering words of encouragement and support as I speak. Once I finish my tale, Serana takes my hand and looks deeply into my eyes. You're a true hero, she says. I'm so proud of you. I smile at her words, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. I know that the battle may have been won, but there will always be new challenges to face. But for now, I am content to rest and bask in the afterglow of my victory. As I try to recall the voice I heard during the battle, I feel a faint memory stirring in the back of my mind. I remember hearing a voice whispering to me, urging me to keep fighting and reminding me of my true power. The voice sounded familiar, but I can't quite place it. As I focus my thoughts, I reason that the voice must be that of Akatosh himself, speaking to me through my connection to his divine power. I feel a sense of awe and gratitude at the realization that the god of time had been watching over me and guiding me throughout the battle. I also remember the words that the voice spoke to me, you are my champion, my chosen one. Go forth and choose your destiny. I feel the warmth of my family's embrace as I return to Akatosh and am no more. Azura's farewell. As the dust settles on the battlefield, Azura, the Daedric Prince of Dawn and Dusk, watches from a distance with a look of disapproval on her face. She had witnessed the events unfold and knew that her siblings, Molag Bal, Shiagarath, and Nocturnal, had schemed and fought amongst themselves for their own gain. Azura shook her head in disgust. Siblings, always squabbling amongst yourselves like children, she muttered to herself. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Your petty squabbles have caused destruction and suffering for mortals and each other. She then turned her attention to the Nerevarin, who had fought bravely against Dargothior and saved the land from his corruption. But not all of us are misguided. Sasha, you have proven yourself a true hero, and for that, you have my respect and gratitude, Ashura said with a nod of her head. As she spoke, Ashura's gaze fell upon the Dunmer hero who had saved Morrowind once again. And to you, Nerevarin, I commend your bravery and determination. You have fulfilled the prophecies of old and saved our people from certain doom. Ashura paused for a moment, as if contemplating her next words. But remember, mortals. The power of the Daedric princes should never be taken lightly. We may seem like gods to you, but we are not above our own flaws and shortcomings. Remember that, and do not meddle with forces beyond your understanding. Ashura quietly mourned the loss of the Dragonborn, hero against Daedric's scheme. With those final words, Ashura turned and vanished into the mist, leaving the mortals to begin a new song.